This is another one of those. I like to do those first person redneck stories. So I pulled up another one of those. It's called Slug Butts.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Slug Butts by Kevin Strange.
This is awesome. Seriously, this story is awesome.
You ready?
Yes.
I was happy when everybody's butts was getting bigger because I'm a butt guy myself. But there's some fine looking women out there that just needed a little more caboose to be considered mighty fine in the humble opinion of this here self-proclaimed booty master. But when I was sitting on the pot yesterday reading the latest issue of Butt Man magazine and I felt a rip and a tear come from my anus region, I wasn't none too happy to discover the root of the big butt phenomenon. We done been infected with slug butts. The whole lot of us. Every goddamn person in America's got a butt full of butt slugs. I got up from the pot and turned around to see what the hell was splashing into the bowl after I felt my insides blow up, and yup, there they were. About 24 fat slugs just slugging up the sides of the toilet like they didn't have no care in the world. That's when I caught a glimpse of my sad ass in the mirror across the bathroom. It wasn't ever as a big ass as white boy standards go, but after everybody's butt started plumping up, even I started getting whistles from the ladies smoking cigarettes out in front of the beauty shop across the street from the tire shop I work at. Now it was flatter and more deflated than ever, like them slugs done ate what little bit of fat was in my skinny ass. Well, I didn't waste no time. I got a can of kerosene from the shed and dosed those slug fuckers right in there in the toilet. Lit them up bright as day. Ain't no son of a bitch and slug's gonna eat the fat out of my ass and get away with it. Fuck those slugs. After that, I sat down on my bony ass and had a couple of smokes so as I could get my wits about me. Then I remember my buddy Carl from across the lake and his girl Carol Ann. They'd invited me over for a butt fuck that afternoon. Carl worked with me at the tire shop and had a hankering for watching other fellas cornhole his old lady. He told me he liked it when I did it because I got a decent-sized schlonger, and he said my ball juice shows up real good on his camera. I ain't never told him, but I got a pretty solid thing for that Carol Ann. What'd Carl expect? Any man climaxes inside a lady's bottom enough times, he's going to develop feelings for her. It's only natural. So after I burned up them slugs, I started to wonder if maybe Carl and Carol Ann might have been in trouble with the butt slugs too, on account of I thought maybe it was something we all might have ate from the pancake ranch down the way. Anybody in Hops Hollow eats at the pancake ranch. So I gave old Carl a call, but he didn't pick up his phone. I was already late for the butt fucking, so that was a bad sign. Carl always called if I was late to a butt fuck. Ain't never met a man so enthusiastic about watching other men get busy with his girl, but that ain't none of my business. It's when I got in the car and turned on talk radio that the scope of the butt slug problem really became apparent. The radio man was going bonkers about them little bastards up our rectums. Seems some kind of chemtrail GMO spray contained some mutated slug eggs and done got them all over the whole goddamn country's food supply. Now them artificial big asses was exploding left and right. I wasn't the only one with a stool full of dead slugs. But as I drove over to Carl's, I flipped through the channels and I landed on an AM station I liked where the host mostly liked to talk about Bigfoots and little green UFOs and all that. He was saying it was much more than GMO tinkering. He said that scientists up in the mountains was messing with some kind of seal that opened a mirror universe, and that the butt slugs was some kind of reflected projection of what was happening on the other side. Something to do with blood rights and black magic up there alongside those machines. He said it was the end of times and that we should all pray for salvation. I didn't hear no more because right then I pulled up to Carl's house and jumped out of the car to make sure Carol Ann was okay. The town was pretty much in hysterics at that point. Everybody running around with them slimy slugs hanging out of their butts. A few people came galloping up to me, pants around their ankles, hands full of shit and slugs. But I ignored them and went on about my way, crossing the street over to Carl's trailer. Well, I got no more than a foot from the door when I heard Carl sobbing up something fierce in there. I knew what the score was. I opened the door, and there he was in a dirty shirt with no drawers, dong and balls out clear as day, his thin stringy hair covered in sweat, slugs slugging up their way from his asshole region. I looked over to the couch, and there was Carol Ann, deader than a chopped-up sea bass. She was a big woman to begin with, all of her, not just her big old ass. But now her belly was twice its regular size and all blown out from the inside. Slugs 3 or 4 times the size of the ones I set on fire, and my shitter was crawling all over. And I ain't shitting when I say them bastards was eating the flesh right off of her naked titties. Well, I gripped Carl up by his shirt. "What'd you do to Carol Ann?" I said. There wasn't no point in hiding my true feelings anymore, what with all the butt slugs and all that. Carl just cried harder. "I know you loved her, Bobby Joe." That's my name, Bobby Joe. "I could tell by the way you butt fucked her. She loved you too, or at least your big old dick." He snotted all over me when he sobbed, so I let him go. "This is all my fault. I've been cornholing that broad more than usual lately out of jealousy, trying to get it to scream the way she does when you go to town on a romper. It had her all plugged up and constipated. When these slugs started doing their thing today, I got mine out real quick like, but she couldn't do nothing to poop those fuckers. We tried our butt fuck lube, even shoved butter up there, but them slugs wouldn't come out. So I got in the truck and went to go get us some laxatives. No, hell, Bobby Joe. When I got back, she was just like this. Them slug bashes been eating on her ever since." I screamed a couple choice words I only use for special occasions. Then I grabbed up the baseball bat Carl and Carol Ann always kept next to the door in case her ex-con husband came over to the trailer all drunk again. Instead of taking Carl's head off like I wanted to, I took a swing at them big boy slugs, splattered them all over the kitchen section before I cursed again and sat down next to Carol Ann's body. "Now what do we do?" Carl sniveled. "Now we bury Carol Ann in the backyard like a pair of decent Christian men. Then we come back inside and get blind drunk on cheap vodka like a pair of decent trailer park boys. Wait for this bug slut nonsense to blow over. That's what we do." And so we did, and we did. It took entirely too long to give Carol Ann a decent burial. We fetched a couple shovels from Carl's shed, but only one of us could do the digging on account of all the slugs trying to attack us in the backyard. By now, there was hundreds of those fuckers, the size of small dogs. But we got the job done and said some prayers while whacking big-ass slugs to death. Then we came inside and drank all Carl's liquor till we stopped crying, and I started. Till he stopped crying, and I started. We passed out holding each other like a pair of sissy girls. When I woke up the next morning, Carl was gone. I puked over the side of his couch and reached for the vodka, but all the bottles was empty. I got up, dry heaved, and walked into the kitchen section to piss in the sink. While I was trying to mist the dirty dishes with my liquor-smelling piss stream, Carl kicked the trailer door open. "Come help me with these son of a bitchin' things. Hey, are you pissing in my sink?" "Fuck you, you killed Carol Ann," I shouted back through a hangover mouth. "Help you with what things?" "These slugs." I dribbled piss in my pants and I whipped my dick back inside them. "Why the fuck are you bringing the things Carl dragged in? Didn't look like slugs." "Well, they might have looked like slugs if I was actually able to see the damn things. Carl dropped one on the floor next to the couch, then dragged the other one in. They were damn near the size of the fridge. Huge fucker. But like I said, I couldn't get a good look at them. They sort of danced around the corners of my vision without really moving. They were dead, so they weren't going nowhere. Carl had bashed the heads in. He tried to put his hand on top of one of them, but its skin just kind of skidded around him. Ain't these something else? They're calling it the shimmer effect. Who's calling it that? On the radio. Carl tossed my keys on the table. "I took your car out to get supplies. That didn't go so well. Have a look for yourself." I leaned over the kitchen table to the window, pushed the curtains back, and cursed again. The whole trailer park was on fire, and them shimmering slug things was slugging all over the streets, on top of the cars, and the roofs of the trailers. Guys from the AM station are broadcasting from the mountains with the scientists now. Said something about the shimmer and shit being the slug's third form after the anal incubation and then hatching out our buttholes, with the fourth form coming that's even bigger, like the size of damn houses. I just stared at the destruction. It all happened so quick I hadn't even had time to jack off yesterday. "Bobby Joe, them guys said we ain't going to survive the fourth form." "So what are we going to do, Carl, huh? We just going to get drunk again, wait for the fourth form slugs to come up in here in the trailer and gobble us up, huh? Might as well start sucking each other's peckers as good as that's going to do us." "Put a pin in that idea and save it, because I got me an idea that just might save our lives. If and so, I wouldn't mind giving that big old cock of yours a sucking if we're going to be truthful. But first, let's get up inside these slugs' asses." Carl pulled out a hunting knife and started cutting a hole in the ass end of his slug. Not an easy thing since the bastard was shimmering around the blade the whole time. But it found purchase, and before long, he had enough of its guts laid out on the living room floor that a man could sort of fit up inside of it. "Why the hell you want to shove yourself up in a slug's ass?" I asked him once it was my turn to cut out my slug's butthole. I might have been skeptical, but I sliced myself a good hole anyway. What else was there to do except wait and die? We're gonna disguise ourselves as slugs, Bobby. If they don't know we're human, they won't know that they won't get a hankering to eat us. Or so I reckon. Was as good enough logic as we bound to get with the world overrun by giant slugs. Person can get a look at proper. So we finished cutting eye holes out of the heads of the fuckers, and then together we laid out our slugs and prepared to climb inside. It was my idea for us to get naked and oiled up with the butt lube we so often used on Carol Ann. Figured it'd be easy to get inside the damn things. So there we stood, butthole naked, like we'd seen each other 1,000 times before. So we just get in these dead slug suits and walk outside like it's our business? Carl nodded. Don't see much choice in the matter. We can try to make our way up to the mountains. The guy on the AM radio said seemed to be real clued in on all this. We could try to find their station. They're bound to have a good plan. Better plan than crawling in a slug's ass. With that, we shoved our heads inside, and that's when things got real fucked up. Immediately, I noticed there was a lot more room up in that slug's butt than there should have been. Carl, what the fuck? My voice echoed. It was pitch black inside the slug. I couldn't feel the walls that should have been hugging my chest and arms tightly. Panicked, I tried to back out, but there was nothing to back out of. I turned around and around, but it was all black. Suddenly, I felt the sensation of falling. It seemed endless. I fell and I fell while a kaleidoscope of colors erupted around me. Just about the time I really started losing my shit, thinking about swallowing my tongue or plucking my eyes out of the way to get Just about the time I started losing my shit, thinking about swallowing my tongue or plucking my eyes out of the way to get at my brain with my fingers as I fell forever inside the slug's body, I hit liquid. And just like that, I could see again. I could hear again, and I could smell again. And what I smelled was shit. Carl popped up next to me, gagging and spitting. We were in some kind of water tank. The sides of the tank were pure white. We paddled over to a floating log and tried to grab on, but slid off the sides on our hands. It's shit, Carl yelled, gagging. Then the top came off of the tank, and both Carl and I screamed. It wasn't a tank, and it didn't have a top. It was a goddamn toilet, and a giant slug the size of a fucking barn had just been shitting in it. The slug turned around. Its eye stalks grew wide, and it let out an ear-piercing shriek. Charlie, get the kerosene. I just shit people out of my ass.
Yeah. I love it. That's from, is it from My Toxic Heart?
Yeah, all the toxic waste from my heart. That's Slug Butts. I appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to my little reading there. What'd you think?
That's a pretty fun story.
Yeah, I like the ending.
It doesn't seem like a ghost story though.
Yeah, well, Jeremy, does that count as a time loop?
What do you mean?
Because the beginning of the story started with Bobby Joe shitting slugs out of his ass and setting them on fire, and it ends with Bobby Joe in a slug's toilet, and the slug's calling for the kerosene to set him on fire.
No, because it wasn't time being rewound. It was just a reoccurrence of a situation.
Well, they crawled through by going into the slugs, they crawled through that space-time dimensional vortex that they were talking about on the radio. They were in slug world.
I still don't think it counts in the same way that I criticize King for the Dark Tower ending in that way. I don't consider it the same thing, but
all right.
Jeremy,
but that was a good story, though. I like the performance, and the story was good as well. Yeah, that's good. I got like a good butt slug.
It's a good butt slugs are pretty cool little things.
Yeah.